Captain Rivera's military clearance grants them access to a secure satellite uplink at the observatory's restricted wing. Chen's fingers fly across the keyboard as she inputs coordinates based on the signal triangulation. "There," she says, pointing to a cluster of anomalous readings near Jupiter's orbit. The signals intensify when they pass through this region of space. Rivera leans closer, his brow furrowed. "That's no natural phenomenon. The movement patterns are too deliberate." They work through the night, Chen developing an algorithm to predict the next signal pulse, while Rivera calls in favors from former squad mates, now stationed at various global monitoring stations. By dawn, they've assembled a rudimentary network that confirms Chen's suspicions. Something is approaching Earth using Jupiter's magnetic field as cover. "We need more data," Chen mutters, rubbing her tired eyes. "And more processing power than this outdated system can provide." Rivera makes a call. 3 hours later, they meet Zara Kamal, a brilliant computer engineer with a chip on her shoulder about being passed over for the International Space Agency position that went to someone more diplomatic. "So you believe aliens are coming?" Zara asks skeptically after they explain their findings. Chen shakes her head. "I don't deal in belief. I deal in data, and the data shows coordinated, artificial signals that defy natural explanation." Zara studies the patterns on Chen's tablet. "These encryption structures, they're unlike anything I've seen, but they definitely follow mathematical logic." Her eyes widen. "If these are communication signals, they're incredibly efficient. Whoever sent them can process information at least 50 times faster than our best quantum computers." With Zara's help, they convert the observatory's auxiliary server room into a makeshift command center. They nickname it the basement, though it's actually on the 3rd floor. Zara brings in custom-built processing units that she borrowed from her university lab. The breakthrough comes at 3:17 a.m. on a rainy Tuesday. Chen's algorithm detects a new pattern embedded within the signals, coordinates pointing to a small asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. "It's a relay station," Zara realizes. "They're using it to amplify and redirect their communications." When they redirect the observatory's main telescope to the asteroid, they discover something that makes their blood run cold. The asteroid's rotation has changed, becoming perfectly synchronized with Earth's day/night cycle. Something has modified it. Rivera makes another call, this time to his former commanding officer, General Helena Winters. "Marcus, do you know what time it is?" The general grumbles. "Ma'am, I wouldn't call if it wasn't important. We have evidence of non-terrestrial technology actively modifying objects in our solar system." There's a long pause. "Bring what you have to Pentagon Briefing Room B12 tomorrow at 800. Say nothing to anyone else." As they pack their evidence, a news alert flashes across Chen's phone. Astronomical anomaly. Jupiter's moon Europa shows unexpected thermal activity. The three exchange glances. They're no longer ahead of the curve. Events are accelerating. "Whatever's coming," Rivera says grimly. "I don't think we have much time to prepare." Chen nods, slipping a backup drive into her pocket. "Then we better make every minute count." The Vrolnak's embassy becomes Geneva's most visited landmark overnight. Humans queue for hours to catch a glimpse of the aliens' luminescent skin and flowing movements. Ambassador Talon, their appointed representative, charms world leaders with philosophical insights and promises of technological exchange between equals. Chen watches the third press conference from the basement, now expanded into an adjacent storage room after General Winters authorized their unofficial investigation with minimal resources but maximum secrecy. Notice how they never answer specific questions about their home world. Chen points to the screen where Talon gracefully sidesteps a reporter's query. Just vague references to a distant system and unfortunate conflict. Zara nods, fingers never pausing as she analyzes atmospheric data collected near the embassy. And these particulate readings are off the charts. Whatever their ship is venting, it's not on any known element chart. Rivera enters, looking haggard after an all-night surveillance shift. 2 more ships entered orbit this morning. Smaller than the first, but identical configuration. He tosses a memory stick to Chen. And I captured this from their communication array. Chen plugs it in, revealing a cascade of encrypted data. This looks familiar. She pulls up the original signal patterns from the observatory. It's the same mathematical foundation as the Jupiter signals, but more complex. They worked tirelessly for 3 days, breaking only for catnaps on cots now installed in the corner. The breakthrough comes when Chen realizes the Vrelnak's language has underlying mathematical patterns similar to their tech signatures. It's not just a language, she explains, excited despite her exhaustion. It's a programming architecture. Words and code are interchangeable to them. Using this insight, they create a rudimentary translation matrix. When they apply it to the intercepted signals, fragmented phrases emerge. Stage 1 terraforming. Acceptable progress. Indigenous leadership successfully engaged. Preparation for biomass assessment. Terraforming. Zorro. Whispers. They're changing our planet. And biomass assessment doesn't sound like something refugees would prioritize, Rivera adds grimly. Their concerned debate is interrupted when Chen's phone chimes with a priority alert. Her face pales as she reads it. The president has accepted an invitation to tour the Vrelnak ship tomorrow. They're taking 20 world leaders on board. We need to warn them, Rivera says, reaching for his secure line to General Winters. Chen stops him. With what proof? Fragments of translated code. They'll think we're paranoid. Then we need better proof, Zara says, her fingers already flying across her keyboard. The Vrelnak's communication system uses quantum entanglement, but it still needs receiving stations, if we can access one. Rivera nods. I know someone in Geneva Security. We can get within 50 meters of their ship tonight. That evening, disguised as maintenance workers, Chen and Rivera approach the perimeter around the gleaming Vrelnak's vessel. Zara guides them remotely, her voice steady in their earpieces. The signal's strongest near the western edge of their landing struts. You'll need to place the receiver within 3 meters to capture their data stream. As they approach, Chen's sensor device begins vibrating. I'm picking up massive energy fluctuations, she whispers. Rivera looks up at the ship, his military instincts screaming danger. That's not diplomatic protocol. That's a ship powering weapon systems. Through their binoculars, they watch as a previously invisible seam on the ship's hull silently opens, revealing what can only be described as artillery ports. We need to move, Rivera whispers urgently. Now, their mountain hideaway, an abandoned research station tucked into the Rockies, buzzes with activity. The team has grown to 11 people now, each recruited carefully after showing resistance to the Vrelnak's charm, offensive sweeping the world. Dr. Maya Patel, formerly with the CDC, examines a water sample under their hybrid microscope. These nanomachines are adapting to our detection methods, she says, adjusting the focus. Yesterday they were spherical. Today they've developed filament structures that mimic normal bacteria. Chen checks the atmospheric monitors they've placed across 6 continents. The subtle changes are accelerating. Oxygen levels decreasing by 0.03% monthly, replaced by a methane-nitrogen compound that their lungs can process, but not efficiently. At this rate, we'll start seeing widespread respiratory issues within 4 months, she calculates. Subtle enough that most doctors will attribute it to a new virus or environmental pollution. Rivera enters with their newest recruit, Dr. Sanjay Kumar, an ethnomusicologist who noticed something odd during the Vrelnak's cultural exchange concerts. Show them, Rivera encourages. Kumar connects his tablet to their main screen. This is audio from the Vrelnak's musical performance in Tokyo last week. He plays a hauntingly beautiful melody that seems to flow like water. Now listen with the frequency analyzer active. When he activates the software, the visualization reveals complex patterns hidden beneath the audible tones. Those aren't just harmonics, Zara realizes, leaning forward. That's data, compressed information embedded in sound. Kumar nods. They're broadcasting something during every cultural event. Based on attendance figures, nearly 30% of Earth's population has been exposed. Rivera paces, his military training demanding action. We need to understand what they're transmitting. Could it be mind control, subliminal programming, or biometric scanning? Chen suggests. Gathering detailed physiological data on human responses for their databases. The conversation halts as their perimeter alarm flashes. On the security feed, they watch a jeep navigate the treacherous mountain road toward their location. We've been compromised, Rivera says, reaching for his sidearm. But Chen recognizes the driver. It's Alex Wong from Atmospheric Sciences. I tried recruiting him last month, but he declined. When Wong enters, his face is ashen. He tosses a small object onto their conference table, a crystalline blue shard that pulses with inner light. I found this embedded in my lab partner's neck, he explains, voice shaking. Jason has been acting strange for weeks, supporting the Vrelnaks enthusiastically, working late, making secret calls. Yesterday, I saw something move under his skin. Patil examines the shard with gloved hands. Some kind of neural transmitter. Sophisticated beyond anything we could create. They're not just infiltrating our governments, Wong says. They're literally infiltrating us. The implications sink in as their satellite alert system chimes. Chen brings up the feed to show a massive surge in Vrelnak's communications. Something's happening. All channels just went active simultaneously. Rivera checks his secure phone. The presidential tour of the Vrelnak ship just concluded. All delegates reported a successful diplomatic exchange. Chen zooms in on the footage of world leaders exiting the vessel. Their smiles seem identical, their movements oddly synchronized. Those aren't our leaders anymore, she whispers. The invasion isn't coming. It's already here. The Global Unity rally fills Central Park with blue-painted supporters on one side, while police in riot gear hold back protesters on the other. Chen watches the live feed from their new underground facility, an abandoned missile silo Rivera acquired through channels he refuses to explain. The sonic disruption theory is holding strong, reports Adriana Vasquez, their sound specialist. Once a renowned opera singer, she now uses her perfect pitch to map Vrelnak's vulnerabilities. Through trial and error, we've narrowed the effective range to 15.3 to 16.8 kHz. The effect is most pronounced when modulated like this. She adjusts her equipment, producing a sound barely perceptible to human ears. On the test platform, a captured Vrelnak's communication device begins to shimmer, its crystalline structure destabilizing, until it collapses into blue dust. Impressive, Rivera says. But we need delivery systems, sonic weapons powerful enough to affect their ships, not just their tech. Zara looks up from her workstation. I've been mapping public address systems, emergency broadcast networks, and consumer sound devices globally. With the right access codes, we could turn the world's speakers into a defensive network. Their planning session halts when Dr. Patil rushes in from the medical bay. His condition is deteriorating rapidly, she reports. Rivera's former squad mate, Commander Jackson, had collapsed during their reconnaissance mission 3 days ago. In the medical bay, Jackson's skin has taken on a bluish tint, transparent in places to reveal metal-like structures replacing muscle tissue. His breathing comes in labored gasps. The nanomachines are rewriting his cellular structure, Patil explains. They're not just replicating, they're converting human tissue into Vrelnak's biological material. Can you stop it? Chen asks, horrified. I'm trying everything. Electromagnetic pulses slow the process temporarily, but they adapt quickly. Jackson's eyes flutter open, suddenly clear. Captain, he rasps, gripping Rivera's arm with surprising strength. I can hear them, in my head. They're not refugees. They're colonists. Earth is perfect for them. Just needs adjustments. His gaze shifts to Chen. They fear you, he whispers. The resistant ones. Your minds, harder to access. His voice changes, becoming harmonically complex like the Vrelnax. Surrender your autonomy. Evolution demands efficiency. Rivera steps back as Jackson's eyes glow with inner blue light. That's not Jackson anymore. The security alarm blares. On monitors, they watch a military helicopter descend toward their hidden entrance, bearing UN markings but moving with unnatural precision. They found us, Zara says, already typing commands to purge their systems. We need to evacuate. No, Chen counters, watching Jackson. This is our chance. If they're coming for us, they're sending Vrelnax or compromised humans. We can test our sonic defense in real conditions. Vasquez nods, understanding immediately. She rushes to finalize the frequency modulator, while Rivera arms the team. Standard firearms as backup only, he instructs. Primary weapons are the sonic disruptors. Remember your training and protective ear gear. As the helicopter lands, Chen takes a final look at their research data. They're transforming us to make Earth more suitable for their physiology, she summarizes. But in doing so, they'd given us their weakness. The facility's external cameras show 8 figures emerging from the helicopter, humans in military gear moving with the too-perfect synchronization they've come to recognize as Vrelnax control. Let them come, Rivera says, checking his sonic disruptor. Time to see if music really does soothe the savage beast, or in this case, shatter it completely. The fishing boat rocks gently on the Sea of Japan as dawn breaks. Chen huddles under a tarp, clutching the waterproof case containing their precious data core. The captain, an elderly man with weather-beaten skin, asks no questions, simply nodding when Chen mentioned the name of their Japanese contact. Her satellite phone vibrates. The message is brief. Network reestablished. Tokyo station compromised. Satellite Gamma online. Northern coordinates sent. Chen's relief at hearing from the team mixes with concern over their scattered status. The raid on their Tokyo uplink facility had forced them to separate, fleeing in different directions with fragments of their research. Rivera's last communication came from Seoul, where he'd narrowly escaped Vrelnax security forces. The boat docks at a small fishing village. A teenage girl waits on the pier, her school uniform contrasting with her serious expression. She bows slightly to Chen. "Professor, my grandmother is expecting you." The girl leads Chen through narrow streets to a traditional house nestled against a hillside. Inside, surrounded by an improbable array of advanced electronics, sits an elderly woman adjusting the settings on what appears to be a modified radio transceiver. "Dr. Chen," the woman says without looking up, "I am Hiroko Tanaka. Your colleague contacted me about your signal interpretation problem." Chen blinks in surprise. "You're the Underground Resistance Network." Hiroko smiles faintly. "I was a quantum communications engineer before retirement. These days, I jam Vrelnax transmissions while pretending to be a senile grandmother." She gestures to the teenage girl. "My granddaughter Yumi helps. She has quite the talent for signal interception." Yumi blushes. "I just modified some gaming hardware. It's not complicated." Ken connects their data core to Hiroko's system. Together, they analyze the fragmented information about the approaching fleet. The images from private telescopes, when compiled, reveal hundreds of massive ships holding position beyond Pluto. They're waiting for something, Chen muses, studying the formation patterns. Some kind of signal, perhaps. Or for Earth to become more hospitable to them. Hiroko suggests. "Your atmospheric data shows accelerating changes." A proximity alert sounds. Yumi checks the security cameras hidden around the property. Government vehicles. 4 of them. Hiroko remains calm. "Neighbors will report they haven't seen me in days. We have emergency exits." "No time to run," Chen decides, looking at the partially compiled fleet data. "We need to complete this analysis and broadcast it globally. It's our only chance to convince people." Hiroko hesitates, then nods. "Yumi, prepare the quantum encryption module." "Dr. Chen, your data core contains the authentication signatures we need to bypass Vrelnax communication blocks." As they work frantically, the sound of vehicles stopping outside reaches them. Footsteps approach, too regular, too measured to be fully human. 30 seconds until broadcast readiness. Yumi reports, fingers flying across her keyboard. Chen makes a split-second decision. Target satellite networks first, then emergency broadcast systems, then civilian communications. People need to see the fleet. The front door splinters inward. Hiroko activates a final sequence and meets Chen's eyes. Transmission beginning. Go with Yumi through the tunnel. Someone must survive to guide the resistance. As Chen reluctantly follows Yumi to a concealed passage beneath a tatami mat, the first images of the massive alien armada begin appearing on screens worldwide. The hidden fleet is hidden no more, and humanity's complacency is about to be shattered. The Cold War bunker hums with activity. 3 weeks since the global broadcast of the Vrelnax fleet, and the world is fractured into chaos. Some nations declaring emergencies while others, still under Vrelnax influence, dismiss the images as sophisticated forgeries. Chen studies the blueprints spread across the planning table. The Sonic Disruption Network is ready for deployment in 23 major cities, she reports to the assembled resistance leaders. But we still don't have enough amplifiers for global coverage. Dr. Patil enters, her face grim. The first wave of blue lung cases has hit infection levels that can't be hidden anymore. Hospitals in Singapore, Madrid, and Chicago are overwhelmed. On the central monitor, news footage shows patients with bluish skin and metallic veins being treated in makeshift medical tents. A doctor speaks to the camera, her voice breaking. This is no conventional pathogen. The tissue sample shows cellular reconstruction unlike anything in medical literature. Rivera, newly returned from his strike team mission, uploads data from his tactical pad. We penetrated the Dallas outpost. What we found confirms our worst fears. The screen displays images of human-sized incubation chambers, thousands of them, arranged in perfect rows. They're designed for full neural transfer, explains Dr. Kumar, who'd accompanied Rivera. The Vrelnax aren't just terraforming our planet. They're preparing to download their consciousness into human hosts. Chen absorbs this revelation, then turns to Zara. What's the status on the smart speaker network? 78% global coverage potential, Zara replies. The override code is ready, but we'll only get one shot before they detect and block it. We need more than just defensive measures, Rivera insists. Their main ships will arrive within days. We need a way to take the fight to them. Chen considers this, then turns to Adriana Vasquez. Your modulated frequencies destroyed their communication devices. Could we adapt that principle to target their larger systems? Adriana nods slowly. Theoretically, yes. But we'd need access to their command frequencies to create a cascading harmonic disruption. Which means getting inside one of their primary structures, Rivera concludes. The bunker's alert system flashes red. Zara checks the incoming signal. Multiple reports coming in. Vrelnax ambassadors worldwide are making simultaneous announcements. They watch as Ambassador Talon appears on screen, his blue skin glowing with heightened intensity. People of Earth, the time for ascension approaches. Tomorrow at noon GMT, our benefactors will arrive to welcome humanity into the galactic community. Those who have embraced our healing will lead the way. Those who resist progress, his voice hardens, will be helped to understand. Ken turns to the team, decision made. We're out of time. We deploy everything we have now, the sonic network, the emergency broadcasts, everything. And the strike mission? Rivera asks. Proceeds as planned. If we can disrupt their command structure during the fleet's arrival, it might create enough confusion for our global countermeasures to work. In the armory section, volunteers prepare sonic disruptors disguised as ordinary equipment. Medical teams pack neutralizing compounds that might slow the nanite conversion process. Communication specialists configure emergency broadcast overrides. Chen walks among them. memorizing faces, grateful for human courage in the face of overwhelming odds. She pauses beside a wall where someone has scrawled a simple message. They want our world. We'll show them why it's ours. The skies darken worldwide as massive Vrelnak ships position themselves over major population centers. Their hulls shimmer with an iridescent blue that seems to absorb rather than reflect sunlight. The message booms from invisible speakers. Prepare for ascension. In their underground command center, Chen monitors the global situation on wall-to-wall displays. Activation of dormant nanomachines confirmed in populations across all continents, Dr. Patel reports. Estimated 47 million humans currently in first-stage conversion. Sonic countermeasure status. Chen asks, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. Zahra checks her systems. Ready for global deployment. Network integrity at 93%. Rivera's voice comes through the comm system, distorted by interference. Strike Team Alpha in position. We've reached the Geneva Embassy perimeter using maintenance credentials. Security presence is lighter than expected. They're overconfident. Or it's a trap, Chen warns. Proceed with caution. Remember, your primary objective is to reach the quantum transmitter. Everything else is secondary. On the main screen, they watch in horror as crowds of humans collapse in public spaces, their bodies convulsing as dormant nanomachines activate. Those still standing appear disoriented, reaching for loved ones only to back away as blue veins spread across once familiar faces. It's time, Chen decides. Activate the sonic countermeasure. Zahra initiates the sequence. Across the globe, millions of devices, from emergency broadcast systems to smart speakers in homes, begin emitting the carefully modulated frequencies. The sound is barely perceptible to human ears, a faint high-pitched tone at the edge of hearing. The effect on the Vrelnaks is immediate. Ambassador Talon, mid-broadcast from the United Nations, falters as his translucent skin ripples like disturbed water. The smaller Vrelnaks vessels wobble in flight, their perfect formations disintegrating. It's working, Adriana exclaims, monitoring the harmonic patterns. But they're already attempting to adapt. We need to intensify the disruption before they can compensate. Inside the Geneva Embassy, Rivera's team fights through disoriented security forces. The sonic attack is affecting their controlled humans too, he reports, as guards stumble with blue light flickering behind their eyes. We're proceeding to the central chamber. Chen watches the embassy blueprints, guiding them through the alien architecture. The transmitter should be behind the membrane wall to your right. Our analysis suggests it requires direct physical contact to reconfigure. Rivera and his team breach the pulsating wall, finding themselves in a chamber unlike anything human minds could design. Angles that seem to bend reality, surfaces that shift between solid and liquid states. At its center floats a crystalline structure that throbs with energy. Target acquired, Rivera confirms. Beginning reconfiguration sequence. As he approaches the transmitter, the chamber's entrance seals shut. A Vrelnak's figure emerges from the shifting walls, larger than any they've encountered, its blue luminescence almost blinding. Humans. It speaks, its voice resonating on multiple frequencies simultaneously. Your resistance is an evolutionary anomaly we failed to anticipate. Your minds should have yielded to our superior consciousness. Rivera activates his enhanced sonic disruptor. That's the thing about humans. We don't follow the rules, even evolutions. Above, the massive command ships begin to stabilize as they adapt to the sonic attack. Earth's last defense is faltering, and everything now depends on what happens in this chamber. 6 months after what the world now calls the repulsion, the United Nations headquarters hosts the signing of the Earth Defense Accord. Representatives from every nation gather to formalize humanity's first truly global defense initiative. The mood is cautiously optimistic. People who once fought over borders now united by the memory of a common enemy. Chen watches the ceremony from her laboratory in the newly established Xenobiology Response Division. Around her, salvaged Vrelnak's technology hums with potential. Research teams work in carefully coordinated shifts, turning alien weapons into humanity's tools. Dr. Chen, her assistant, calls. Captain Rivera's shuttle has docked. She steps away from her workstation, where she's been analyzing a neutralized nanomachine cluster. The victory had been narrow. Rivera's team succeeded in reconfiguring the quantum transmitter just as the Vrelnak ships began to overcome the sonic disruption. The altered signal had amplified the sound frequencies 1,000-fold, transmitted directly to the command ships through their own communication network. The sight of massive alien vessels listing in the sky, their perfect formations shattered, remains the most viewed video in human history. Rivera enters, now wearing the insignia of Earth's first deep space fleet. Almost didn't recognize you without the emergency bunker lighting, he jokes. How's the Dauntless coming along? She asks, referring to the first human vessel retrofitted with Vrelnak's drive systems. Ready for her maiden voyage. We've incorporated the sonic defense systems into the hull itself. If we encounter any stragglers from their fleet, they'll get quite the surprise. They walk to the observation deck overlooking the shipyard, where 3 more vessels are under construction. Workers swarm over the hulls, integrating human ingenuity with salvaged alien technology in ways the Vrelnaks could never have anticipated. The nanite-neutralizing treatment has reached 98% of affected populations, Chen reports. Even the most advanced cases are showing recovery, though some will always carry the metallic traces in their tissue. Rivera nods. And the atmospheric restoration. Ahead of schedule. The terraforming agents were efficient, but ironically, that made them easier to target with counteragents. They stand in comfortable silence, 2 people who faced the end of humanity together and somehow prevailed. Finally, Rivera speaks. Do you think they'll be back? Chen considers this. They underestimated us once. I doubt a species that advanced would make the same mistake twice. But if they do return, we'll be ready, Rivera finishes. A young technician approaches with a tablet. Dr. Chen, we've detected new signals from deep space. They don't match Vrelnak's patterns. Chen examines the data, curiosity replacing concern. Different mathematical foundation entirely. Could be natural, could be another civilization, Rivera suggests. Possibly. But this time, we're not naive observers. We're prepared. As Rivera departs for his ship, Chen returns to her laboratory. On her desk sits a small sonic disruptor, a reminder of how close they came to defeat. Beside it rests something new, a prototype of a communication device designed to reach across the stars on humanity's terms. The signals from deep space continue, a mystery waiting to be solved. But this time, Earth faces the unknown, not as a disparate collection of nations, but as a united world that has earned its place among the stars.